And then a segue to something that I wanted to talk about, like, Franklin is really has hard, like, really deep depression, like, he's serious case of they call it melancholia that in that time, and they're just trying out meds and all that and trying to figure out and I totally, like, sympathize with him because he let himself into those, like, moments, and then when he was done, he was just like it was the acceptance. Like, when he was over it, he was like, "Oh, yeah, like, this happens," kinda thing, and but it was almost like, ooh, like, the grass is always greener, and then until you get to the more serious, like, the flaws and for better or for worse, a part of it, and
Yeah.
that's when Amelia's like, "Oh, shit, what did I get myself into? What is this is what I would be dealing with if this is a choice I made." And so I felt that's, like, where if for me at least, it started tugging more at the heartstrings, and I wanna, like, get into explore that a little bit, how you integrated that into this character and it made him obviously such a fascinating character and multidimensional and all that, but it was really was, like, I think it's just because you had Emilia had to learn how to love someone with
Yeah.
the serious mental illness, like, it wasn't just, like, a simple thing, it was like, it gets bad. It
Yeah.
gets bad for him.
Yeah. Depression theme was very like that was from the beginning. I think because I was so heartbroken, actually real life guy had depression. And
Mm,
I think that was part of the reason we didn't work. And it was more that he didn't want to let me in to help and not like at a 3-month relationship, not that you can just be like, all right, here I'm giving up my life.
sure. Yeah.
Um but hindsight, thinking back, it's what could I have done differently? What would I have chosen? Would I have chosen had this gone on longer? What could have happened? And it was I did actually do now that we're talking about this and going back into research, I did do some depression research. And they did have treatments and things back then, and some of it was crazy. This was the age of like lobotomies and like they would do electric shock and things like that. And but there were also medicinal things too
Yeah.
and different routes. And it was less important for me to go about the treatment and more about again human interaction and reaction and how we as people when we first meet each other are the shiniest social media perfect versions of ourselves,
Mhm.
and as time goes on we become who we really are, like the walls fall down. And it was Amelia doesn't really know who she is, and so therefore she goes on this sort of who am I journey through the book, and both men push her in those directions, which I loved. The idea of this journey of a person who didn't know who she was and was forced into figuring it out because she was deeply in love with two different people, and who would she choose? But it's I don't know, I feel like maybe it's a precursor. The fact that the depression, she had to figure out who she was and that there's nothing you can do. Like for someone who is depressed, they have to help themselves. For anybody who has any kind of mental disease, they have to be their own hero first.
Yeah,
They